Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host, Pez. I'm here with Sauce and we are here to talk about the AFL coming back in 2022. Round one is upon us. It is Tuesday night at the moment and we have a Wednesday night grand final rematch to start the AFL for 2022. You can't get any more excited than that, Sauce.
Yeah, welcome guys. Very excited for a round one opening to the season. It's really great that we're having the grand final rematch. Or is it great, Pez? It's one of those things that's been highly debated for years and years, and I'm sure we'll get into it with the show. But Pez, I am excited to get into things. Round one's back. The loser comp is up and about, Pez. We are well on our way to our big mark.
Oh, yeah, we had a mark last year of an $840 prize pool with a $20 entry fee. So we've actually going to up that again this season. So we've upped it every year we've been doing it, Sauce. And it's looking like the prize is going to be upwards of $900, which is going to be very exciting for one lucky person that is really, really good at picking losers.
Yeah, so normally something that you wouldn't brag about picking losers, Pez, but when the pot is over $900, that is definitely something to brag about. And what's really exciting for the pod, Pez, this is the fourth year we've been running it. Every year we've upped it, and every year we're getting new entrants that have never participated before. So very exciting for them. After tomorrow night, after 6 o'clock, the tips should be sent out to everyone, and it's going to be fantastic, Pez.
Yeah, all the tips are flying in, which is really good. I've got to put my loser tip in still, and it's such a hard round. And round one, the podcast show of round one is also always so difficult because there's always an upset or two or three in round one, and you're not really sure what's going to happen. Every team has killed it in the preseason, and they're just ready to fire in 2022, according to the news. But the smell is in the air. There's something in the air, the excitement Sauce. After 2 years of COVID, we're able to be back at the footy. Wednesday night to start. Then we've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So 5 days packed full of AFL footy. I cannot wait. Get involved in the loser comp, all your tipping competitions. Make sure you're signed up to everything that you need to be before the footy. If you enjoy doing Supercoach, those sorts of things. These are the things in the busy week leading up to round one, Sauce, that you've just got to make sure they're the priority. They're the first that you've got to get done during the week, or the first bounce. And then once that's done, you're smooth sailing for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's right, Pez. And one thing that the AFL has definitely got right is they have rewarded the Victorians after the last 2 seasons of bubble football and lockdowns and all these things, because whether they've got the opening game of the season right or not, Pez, they have definitely rewarded Victorians for their resilience during the season. Wednesday night, we've got the MCG game, the Doggies and Melbourne. Thursday night, MCG, you've got Carlton, Richmond. Friday night, you've got Marvel Stadium, Collingwood and St Kilda. And then Saturday during the day, MCG, Geelong versus Essendon. The first 4 of the games are all in Victoria, the home of football. That's one thing they have absolutely nailed.
Yeah, you got to love it, and your team could be involved in one of those 4 matches. 8 teams of the Victorian sides involved in those matches there. So very, very good. We're going to find out. We've been teasing it a little bit, Sauce, of what we think of the grand final rematch being the first match of the season. Let's do it with our over-under segment. Now, Sauce, before we get into the actual over-under for this, the topic I'm going to say, and then I want your serious thoughts about if this is a good thing for the game, or if you think it's a marketing ploy, whatever you might think, or when the grand final rematch should be played. So I want you to give me an answer on that. If it's not round one, when do you think is the ideal time? So grand final rematch as the first match of the season, is that a really, really good thing? Or do you have an alternative idea?
First, to answer the main question of this, Perry, is it a good thing to happen as the opening games to the AFL season? No. whether we like it or not, and whether it's been a spectacle of the last couple of years, Carlton Richmond have put in a lot of effort in building that Thursday night game and that Thursday night tradition, and I use the inverted commas because it's only going back about 10 years now, but it's fantastic. It's a great rivalry. Everyone loves to go. Even if you don't go for those two teams, Thursday night, back when it was a Friday night, you went along. Two big teams, two big clubs, huge. The risk that you run at opening the season of having the two grand final teams, one, what happens if it's a Sydney GWS game? So the first game is not even in Victoria, and that's one of the things that obviously the AFL, they focus on the Victorian aspect of it, and it's important that we reward the Victorians because they have built that tradition. They do come out to, Carlton, Richmond, no matter where they are on the ladder. We get 80, 90,000 every single year. I don't think you get that if you do the AFL Grand Final remix, the rematch, doing it on the opening night, the opening game of the season. The second part of it is the Wednesday night. Like, what the hell is a Wednesday night game? We don't experiment with Wednesday night games throughout the whole season, and now we're going to put it on here in the middle of nowhere. For me, it doesn't work. To me, the best time slot that they should be doing is your Friday night blockbuster. I think if you're going to do it, you get your Friday night. That way, everyone has the opportunity to go, even if it is Sydney versus GWS. Friday night in Sydney, or in what's the other Canberra? What do they call it? Giant Stadium. Let's say Canberra Stadium. You can open up on that Friday night. You can have that. There's a lot of people don't work on the Saturday. Your kids can go along. I think if you're going to do it, you do the Friday night. But I think the season has to open Carlton Richmond, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, well, there you go. So you don't like the first match of the season being the grand final rematch. I absolutely hate it, Source. So you've got Carlton versus Richmond, who for some years the game ended up being a blowout, 6 goals plus, but you did get your 80+ thousand there. So you knew it was going to work. It was at the home of football at the MCG. The Wednesday night thing, absolutely disgusting. You got Melbourne fans, you got Western Bulldogs fans. A lot of these fans that have families with young kids, they're not going to be able to go on a Wednesday night. Middle of the week, traveling all the way to the MCG, traveling home, having to go to work on the Thursday and on the Friday. If it's on a Thursday night, like the Carlton versus Richmond, people take their families because you can be tired and get through that one day of work on the Friday. All right. But a Wednesday night, absolutely ludicrous. Doesn't give anyone enough time to get there and back. A lot of the Melbourne fans will have to either take work off or actually make an effort to get there if they're unveiling the flag as well in the first match at the MCG. So you've got that there. Now, my other part to this was an alternative. The grand final rematch for me, you're going to build up to the game because, yes, it's a big thing when the two grand final teams play against each other again. But you don't need build up for round one, Source. Everyone loves round one. Everyone looks forward to round one every single year. The build-up is natural. It's there. The energy's in the air. The energy's not in the air this week because Melbourne are playing Western Bulldogs and it's a grand final rematch. It's there because of round one. So what we need to do, move it to round 6, round 7, or round 8. Any one of them, you put the grand final rematch in one of those rounds and go from there. You don't want it too late in the season, but you also don't want it too early in the season because you kind of want to see how the teams go and you want to build it up. If you're lucky enough that both of those teams are still good the next year, which most of the time a grand final side is, you get the build up over 5 or 6 weeks instead of building up over a preseason, which doesn't need it because the build up's already there.
I don't know about that, Pez. I think round 5 or 6 or 7 is you're leaving yourself up there. What happens if one of the teams is part of a rebuild, or let's say Geelong wins it this year? We're hoping, and they're obviously this is their last shot of the premiership window. They go into the rebuild straight after a premiership. They're 0-6 going into it versus Melbourne. Let's say they're 6-0. I don't think the build up is there. I think there's more pressure on the team that is doing the rebuild or the team that's not performing. But I don't know if that builds the spectacle of the round 1 rematch. I like the idea of what you're saying, but I think round 6 is a bit too far. I think maybe if you can do round 3 or 4, it's very rare for teams to lose the first 3 or lose the first 4 and not make finals. So that way, round 3 it is still salvageable. If they're at round 5, 0-5 or 0-6 or 0-7, which is highly unlikely, Pez, but I think it allows for that build up there and that this is where they're going to get their season started. I think if you leave it a third of the season, that's too long.
Take me back over the last 30 years, Source, and tell me when a grand finalist team has been an 0-4 in the wins column after 5 or 6 weeks. Maybe not
the premiership team, Pez, but there's been a couple of teams have been in the grand final. Or you could look at the Doggies. The Doggies went pretty close after they won their premiership. I think they went 1-3, 1-4. They had a pretty rough sort of start to it, and they kept saying the hangover, the hangover, the hangover. If I remember that season, they had a pretty big run on the way home. So there's one example. Not that they're real premierships, but
Yeah. So if that is an actual real example source, one example over 30 years, that's a risk I'd be willing to take as the AFL, because it doesn't do any difference if you're putting it in round one, because round one, the build-up's already there. As I said, if you can get two teams that are both undefeated, even heading into it, the build-up's even better. If they don't have to be undefeated, they have to be 4-2, even 3-3, and the build-up's going to be there, the rivalry's going to be there, and it's going to be a much better spectacle.
Much better spectacle, Pez, if both teams are performing. I'm not going to harp on this, but I just checked that stat. Western Bulldogs in 2018, after that premiership, they went 1-5 going into round 6. Their only win coming against Essendon. The first 2 weeks of that season had a combined losing total of 130 against West Coast and GWS. So you're right, it doesn't happen that often, but it's a pretty big risk in this day and age. We know how close the league is. Those rebuilds come fast and furious, especially with the premiership there.
Yeah, so I think if, say, 2017, you did the Bulldogs and the Swans round 1 or round 6, you wouldn't get too much difference, because round 1, as I'm saying, people go there anyway. But tomorrow night, glued to the television, because AFL footy is back, I've got an over-under for you for this game source. Now, usually Carlton and Richmond get 80,000+ to the opening game of the season. Now it's the grand final rematch. I'm going to put the over-under, not at 80,000, I'm going to put it down, 49,998. Is the crowd going to be over that, or is it going to be under?
Which game are we talking about, Pez?
Melbourne versus the Western Bulldogs.
Well, Pez, I think it's going to get pretty close to the under. I mean, I got a message from Ticketek today offering $22 tickets to the general admission. So you wouldn't expect, if they have already sold all of those tickets, to be getting an advertisement from Ticketek at the bargain price of $22, Pez. But you've got to hope that Melbourne get out there to celebrate the unveiling of the flag. The Dogs, as I'll talk about when we get into our Betslip, Pez, you got to think that they'll get there to, have some redemption, and they want to see their team. And because both of these clubs didn't really get to watch their team last year, so they owe it to their teams to get there. I'm hoping to God it doesn't go under that.
I wouldn't mind if it goes under, but if you're hoping it doesn't go under, I'm guessing you're going over.
No, I reckon it goes under, Pez. I reckon it's getting very close to going under. I reckon it'll get very close.
Yeah, I think it goes under as well by a few thousand at least, and go from there. So interesting to watch the crowd attendance tomorrow, and let's see if we're correct. If there's 80,000-90,000, I'll take everything back, and the AFL got it correct. But I'm tipping it might not be.
Yeah, so interesting to see, Pez. Realistically, Pez, that is all we've got time for in terms of the over-under, because we need to get into the main chunk, the staple of the show, Pez. The original part of the podcast that we started with is our famous, the first one of 2022, the 2022 AFL Betslip.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Now Betts with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate, and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes! Yes!
Oh my goodness sauce. How good is it to hear that intro again? A bit of yes, 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 up and about. Now, every year, Sauce, we tend to pick up a few new listeners as well. So if listeners haven't listened to the show before, Sauce, this is our Betslip section where Peasant Sauce put the money where their mouth is and do a little bit of punting. Now, just for a bit of history and a bit of reference, Sauce, we've been doing the podcast 4 previous years, and 4 out of those 4 years, we've ended up making a profit with that money. So there's a good record there. We can't go any better than that. 4 out of 4 for both of us, making money throughout the entire season. That includes all the rounds of the regular season, includes the Brownlow, includes all the final, Sauce. It's been a good ride so far.
It has been a great ride, Pez, and the Betslip has developed over that time as well. So, originally we just started chucking down bets, and it was a $10 bet here and there. Then we decided we've got a $200 maximum, so you can't go over the $200, which we definitely follow. Again, the bunny ears there and the inverted collars, because sometimes during those lockdown season, Pez, we got a little bit bored and had a little bit of extra cash floating around, obviously. But we definitely put our money where our mouth is. We make sure we publish those bet slips to show that we've got that accountability. But the other thing that's developed, Pez, is the way that we talk about the game. So not only will we tell you our tips for the game, we'll tell you how we think the game's going to unfold, so that even if we're not putting money on that game, or we're not putting money on a specific bet, you as the listener have the opportunity, if you'd like, to take our advice, or maybe something that Pez says, you're like, you know what, he has absolutely got no idea, and I just do opposite whatever he's saying to make some cash as well, which is totally fine. That's generally how I sort of set up my bet slip as well.
That's what to say. So that you as the listener and as the fan, you are the one that ultimately gets to decide if you actually want to put any money down. We know we've got listeners who don't gamble at all, and they're not on the punt. So, but we've got other listeners that take our advice and go through and you get some thank you messages and things like that. Now, sometimes you'll hear someone, and this is anything. You'll see an ad on TV, you'll see anything to do with punting source, and you'll think, this person's got no clue what they're talking about. I'm gonna chuck it on the other side. So you can do that with Source. You can do that with myself, and it's going to be a good ride. And the best thing is that we are held accountable. Win or lose for the round, we will talk about our bet. We'll say when we stuffed up, and Source will definitely do a little bit of bragging if he can get up and about and make some money.
Yeah, definitely, Pez. If you're gonna put your money where your mouth is, and you're gonna be putting some money there, you need to get up and about. And Pez, the way that we sort of reference it, and the way we brag or we muck around and we give each other sort of some stick about it, it is just a bit of fun. We're definitely not making full-time careers on this, and even if you're not a gambler, don't turn off the show, because we definitely talk about how the game's going to unfold. And realistically, we only talk at the end where we're putting our bet down. So we do give you a little bit of analysis. We do give you a little bit of insight in how they're going to run how we think the game's going to unfold. And the best thing, as the listener, it could help with your tipping. It could help with, making sneaky bets with your mates, or you could be actually getting on the punt and actually putting some money there. It is. We had a lot of listeners last year that shared their bet slip. Make sure you jump on Twitter and share that, Pez. And we had some people actually thanked us for their winnings. We also had a couple of blokes that sort of jumped on and said, hey, I listened to your advice, and what's going on there in those rare rounds that we had a loss?
Oh, I don't remember any of those rounds, if I'm honest, Source. But we do have, there's another unique thing about this show. We're going to go through the specials.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang.
So here we are, round one betting specials. They're always really interesting, Source, because usually the betting companies and the betting agencies are trying to get new punters in there. They're trying to lure losing punters in, if we're being honest, to try and give them as much profit as possible. And obviously, all these companies, with there being so many, they are very successful in that. So we want to try and beat the bookies any way we can. Now, sometimes, Source, the bookies will ban you. So both of us have been banned from multiple betting agencies, which isn't very good, and having to use alternate accounts to get some of these promotions, which will be joked about throughout the season. So what I found, Sportsbet, they've got Wednesday to Friday matches. So the first three matches of the round, they've got a 3+ leg same game multi. You double your winnings up to $100 in bonus bets. So whatever you bet down, whatever you win, you also get that stake in a bonus bet as well. So if you're going to do a 3-leg multi anyway, I'd chuck it in there. This one that I really, really like, 4-leg AFL multi. If 1 or 2 legs fail, you get your bonus bet back up to $50. All right. So if you got a 4-leg multi and you only get 2 of those teams right, you actually get that $50 back in a bonus to try and win that stake back, Source. So that's a really, really good one. Head over to Ladbrokes. They've just got AFL and NRL mega multi. So you can, we obviously only AFL here. 4+ legs, it gets you a certain number of ones you can get wrong. The more legs you go, the more you can get wrong. Bet365, they've got the footy multi-bet offer. So you can get 65% or more on your AFL multi-bets. So the more you multi, the more bonus you get, because the more you multi, the less likely it is that you win the actual bet. And you head over to Tab, and Tab's got a really good one for the season opener, Source. You got Melbourne versus Bulldogs, 3+ leg same game multi. If it doesn't win, you get your money back up to $50 in a bonus to try and win that back. So it's not just 1 leg fails, just it doesn't win. You stuff it up, you get all 3 legs wrong, you get that bonus bet back to have another chance to try and get that stake back. And then they've got same game multi special Thursday through to Sunday. So if you're having a punt on a same game multi on Saturday or Sunday, you go through Tab because they've got the special back with 3 to 4 legs. 1 leg fails, you get your bonus bet back up to $50. If you want to be cheeky and go 5, 6 legs, 7+ legs, you can have a couple more fail as well, Source. And that's all I've found so far for round 1.
And no doubt, Pez, those specials will sort of come out a little bit more tomorrow because they're used to the traditional Thursday night startup from some of those other companies. So, they're ignoring what the AFL is trying to do and getting their specials out. And, it's one of those things that we obviously released the specials tonight, but there was a couple more days before the weekend. And sometimes those sport bets companies are a little bit slack in getting it together. Not like our media manager, though, Pez. Already had a couple of shout-outs via Twitter for our new media manager. I think this one is probably the right sort of intern that we've got doing it because a week ahead of schedule, they are almost out, Pez. Well done to this new intern that we've got. And I'm assuming it's an intern because it's efficiency that we've never seen before.
Oh, they're pumping out tweets left, right, and centre there on Twitter at Behind the Bounce Source. So get up there and get around. If you're following us on Twitter, you would have had those specials yesterday, mate. It was posted last night by the young intern that we've got working for us at Behind the Boundaries. So it was very, very impressive indeed.
All right, Pez, we've talked enough rubbish. Let's get into the actual round 1 AFL 2022 season. As we said, it kicks off things on the Wednesday night, 7:10 p.m. time slot. Untraditional Wednesday night time slot at the MCG. We have the reigning premiers Melbourne Demons taking on the Western Bulldogs. Melbourne is $1.59 favourites and the Doggies are $2.33 for this game, Pez, and for every game this round we go through what the line is as well. The line is -9.5 in favour of Melbourne. The total over-under points, do you want to do that again this season as well? Yeah, we're going to go with that as well. Give you a little bit of extra value. The over-under is $1.60.5, $1.88 each way. So that's your over-under total game points. Pez, what are you doing in this game? How is this game going to unfold?
Well, they're trying to build it up in the media here, Source. Unlike us, who are just smashing it for being the first game of the season, but they're trying to hype it up as best they can, and they're talking about all different things with songs being played and things like that. We're not going to go through that stuff. We're just going to go through the actual game and what's happening. Now, Melbourne, very, very impressive. We spoke about their premiership players and the experience that they've got now. They've got absolute guns in the midfield. You've got Petrarca, you've got Oliver. Ben Brown's been impressive up forward as well. And you've got Max Gawn as the ruckman, premiership ruckman now, and will be able to take it to the Bulldogs. Them still missing Bruce with that ACL injury. I think it's going to be too much for them. They've got Norton up forward. They've got Shaki, who's going to take that spot, but he's been taking the third tall forward last year, Source, and he's going to have to step into that second tall forward here and try and do that. We know Bulldogs' strength is their running game and their midfield, but Melbourne's with Petrarca and Oliver and everyone being fit, I think they're just going to be way too strong here for the Bulldogs. Now, stranger things have happened in round 1, and we can always get them wrong and misread teams, but I don't see Melbourne stepping away, but I do see the Bulldogs, who didn't finish in the top 4 last year. They weren't that impressive in the home and away season. I think they do have a little bit to play for, but Melbourne also do because they just want to try and defend their name, go back to back. They've got behind their coach during the off season. So it is Melbourne for me, Source. The bet I've put together is on Tab, the special that we just spoke about. So if every league loses, I still get a bonus bet back. I've got Melbourne to win head-to-head, Melbourne to be leading at halftime, and Melbourne to be leading at quarter time. All those three together, $2.40 odds. I've put the max 50 on it to start off in the AFL season, Source. Little 1.02 multiplier as well, gives me a couple of extra dollars on that with the special, which hopefully I don't have to use, and hopefully it's just a green tick to start the year with a nice little profit.
Do you know what I love about that bet, Pez, is that if your bet wins, my bet still has a great chance of winning. I love what you said about, the depth that Melbourne has, and it's, definitely something that I think that the Bulldogs have. They've spent the whole summer researching. The thing that I'm worried about for both these teams is the slow start. They went deep into October. They both spent a lot of time in Perth. Melbourne spent a lot of time celebrating, and I think they celebrated when they were over there. They spent a lot of time celebrating, and then when they came back, they also were able to celebrate along with a lot of fans. I was listening to an interview earlier this week from Christian Petrarca, who apparently is fitter than ever, and this and that. But he said that when they got back from Melbourne, they had another month, and they got to relive that sort of that hype of winning a grand final with their family and their friends, and they were really disappointed. Is that going to be an extra motivator? Being able to play first game in front of a home crowd? Who knows? I actually think that it's going to work in the detriment to the Dees, and I think that the Bulldogs are going to be able to play a little bit of a closer brand of football. We know that third quarter, they were up by 17 points, the Bulldogs, and they let that game slip away just because the Melbourne team didn't allow the Doggies to get the football. I think they'll definitely counter that. They'll be planning for that, just like the rest of the team. So the Dees have to be on notice, and I think it's going to be, maybe Melbourne still get the win, but I think it's going to be a close game, Pez. So I've done exactly what you've done, and I've jumped on Tab for a 3-leg same-game multi. 1 leg fails, I get my money back in a bonus bet. I've gone the maximum to open up the season, Pez. You got to go the maximum straight up. So I've gone 50 on it. I've gone Western Bulldogs, pick your own line, 27.5. I think they definitely keep it close. They don't get blown out like they did last year. The grand final. And what they have in the past, they haven't always performed in round one. There's a lot of expectations coming on the Bulldogs. They can't have the hangover from being in the grand final, so I think they keep it close. I've gone with Bailey Dale, who's had a ripper of a preseason. Him to get 20 disposals. I think they use him off that back line and really try and control that ball going forward, and again, keep that ball off the Melbourne Demons midfield, because we know when they get it, they go ahead and they strike. And the last leg is Adam Treloar, who has kicked 3 or 4 goals in the intra-club, and he kicked 2 goals in their season opener. They're going to be using him as a forward a little bit more and, seeping through that middle, and they don't have any really tall targets except outside of, Tim English and Norton. So I think Treloar's going to be a goal-kicking machine for them this year. Him to snag a goal gives me odds of $3.10. I'll revisit that for you, Pez, because you look a little bit lost. Western Bulldogs plus 27.5. Adam Treloar to kick a goal. Bailey Dale to get 20 or more disposals. Gives me odds of $3.10, and I put the max 50 on it, Pez.
Oh, it'll be a good start for the pod if both of those can get up. But usually what happens is Pez usually gets up and Source goes down. So we'll see what happens, and we'll move to the next game and see if Source can make his money back.
We can see if I can make my money bet, Pez, but this is where the AFL is going to make their money back, because they're going to get 100 plus to this game. This is an absolute rip. This is what we want to see. It is straight to the G, Pez. Back-to-back nights for the G. It will be at capacity. We have the Carlton Blues taking on the Richmond Tigers, the first official game of the AFL 2022 season, Pez, because we know that this is what every year should open with. We've got Carlton, the outsiders, at $2.61, and Richmond, can they get back to the finals at $1.48? The line for this game is plus 13.5 in favour of the Tigers, so that's minus 13.5, in favour of the Tigers, and our total game points over under for it is over under 164.5, Pez.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the over-unders, especially in round one, Source, to see the game style and what's happening and what's being played. But both sides are going to come in here raring to go. Carlton usually put up a fight for 1 or 2 quarters, sometimes usually the third and the fourth quarter when the game's already blown out of the water. But we'll see what happens here with Chera coming in. He'll need to play a big role because Sam Walsh, as we know, he's out with his syndesmosis injury. Sam Doherty does get to play, though, and there was a great little thing the AFL tweeted out in Sam Doherty, out cancer. So he's coming in and playing. He's fought through things that are unimaginable to some of us, and really inspirational stuff from him. Michael Voss gets to coach his first game back since coaching the Brisbane Lions as well, so that'll be it. Damien Hardwick's got some things to prove. There's so much going on in this game. You got Dustin Martin coming back from his little kidney injury and his hit that he had in the finals last year. So many things, but I think without Sam Walsh, Source, I can't be going on Carlton, and with the record that Richmond have, I've tipped Richmond to bounce back and be in the top 4. So if they let me down here, there's no chance of that happening. So I'm all over Richmond here. I've gone on Sportsbet with the Wednesday to Friday little special. I've put a $25 same game multi down, Source. Richmond at the line, minus 13.5, as you said. And I've just put the sneaky one. Richmond to lead at halftime, Richmond to lead at three-quarter time, just so I can get my legs in there. And that gives $2.10.
Really risky, that one, Pez, as we know that, as you said, Carlton do fire early for that game. So I think a couple of times they've actually led or gotten it really, really close in that third quarter. So it'll be interesting to see how that fares for you, Pez. You mentioned the return of Dusty Martin, which is fantastic for football and fantastic for Richmond. And you did say that the big out for Carlton is Sam Walsh. And that is really, really disappointing. He's still got that syndesmosis injury. And as you said, if it's hard to say and it sounds deadly, we know it must be bad from our last podcast there, Pez. But I'm actually more concerned with some of the outs for Richmond. I mean, they've got, co-captain Dylan Grimes is making a late push to try and get back to be able to play for round one after having thumb surgery last week. I don't know if he'll be able to get up in time for that game, Pez. But there are some others that are definitely confirmed out for that, Pez. Unfortunately, the Tigers will be without some of the people from their back line, some of the midfield that really made some impressive moves last year. Nick Vlosten is a really big out for them, and he's in doubt for that game, Pez. As well as Jack Graham, who wasn't able to get back from that hamstring, and the big one, that triple premiership midfielder, your big friend, Pez, Kane Lambert, with that hip sideline for several months there. So I think that the Blues will be able to stay competitive in this one, Pez, and we know that there's a lot on the line for them. For the last 10 years they have been coming, and this is the year that a lot of people on them, so there's a lot of expectation. Unfortunately, without Sam Walsh, they would have been loving to do it for him and been able to showcase his talent, and he had a really great sort of off-season. But I think they get it together for Sam Doherty, Pez, and I think that they get Vossi a rare first game of the season win, and that's why I'm going with Sportsbet. I'm just going on the nose, Pez, and I jumped on this earlier in the week before I had the confirmation whether Walsh was out, and I thought with that list, I thought it was going to be a bargain at plus 16.5 at $1.90, Pez. But that's what I've gone with. Now it's come into, as we said, to 13.5. I jumped in it earlier in the week, so I've gone with Carlton plus 16.5 at $1.90, and I've put 25 on that one.
Yeah, that'd be right, Sauce. Not giving the fans or the listeners any chance to jump on anything you put on. You're missing out by 3 points there. That's not good for the fans.
As we know, Pez, that can be really costly as well. All right.
That can be the difference.
It can definitely be the difference. Speaking of costly, Pez, we get onto a really, really big blockbuster Friday night. Normally, it's actually the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood on the Friday night, but as we know, the AFL has made the shift, which leaves room for your Saints, Pez, to come up on a big blockbuster Friday night clash, which is two big Melbourne clubs, well, 1.5 big clubs there, Pez. We've got the St Kilda Saints as the favourites at $1.63, taking on the Collingwood Magpies at $2.28, Pez. The line for this game, Pez, is the Saints favoured as a -8.5 line, and the total game points over under is the lowest so far of the round at 159.5, Pez. You got to be all over your Saints with a big blockbuster Friday night. We know you love betting on the Saints.
Always nervous, Source, to bet on my own side, but I found an absolute gem of a bet. You're going to love it. But to speak about the game first, I think missing Hunter Clark is going to be pretty detrimental to St Kilda's backline, so they're going to have to fill that. If Patrick Ryder can get up for round one, to have Ryder and Marshall as a duo, when they played together, the Saints, played so much better as well. So Zach Jones is out indefinitely as well, so he's not going to be in the midfield. But we are going to welcome back Jade Gresham, who's looked fantastic over the preseason and adds a little bit of spark as well and a little bit of run. So I think Kilda will be too strong for Collingwood. I don't know the type of team they're going to be putting on the park. They've got a lot on their injury list that are, tests for round one, expected back a bit later. So we spoke about it. You got Maynard, who's suspended, so you miss out Maynard from defence. You got Howe, who's done with a groin injury. To Goey, he's dealt with ribs. Taylor Adams has dealt with a hamstring. So I don't know how fit they're actually going to be at Marvel Stadium as well, not at the MCG. So that's a tick in St Kilda's box here. So I think St Kilda are going to win the match. I think they should be favourites, and I think the bookies have that correct. If Collingwood were to beat St Kilda, that'd be season over for the Saints. That'd be absolutely devastating. But what I've found is I got a little bit of an advertisement when I was on Twitter last night, Source, and there's a new company called Moneyball, and the little thing they got me to sign up because Max King. My man Max King, Coleman medalist of 2022, to kick any of the first 10 goals of the match at $2.
That is great value. That is such good.
I've bet any of the first 10, not the first 5, the first 10. So,
that is amazing.
if he kicks a goal, That's at $2 and the max bet 25. So I signed up, put my $25 in, deposited, and put my max bet at 25 at $2 on Max King to kick one of the first 10 of the match.
Pez, I love that bet, and it's, as I can, an avid listener of the show would know, generally Pez and I don't share bets, and as likely as he is the villain of the show, you have not shared that with me, Pez, and it's very disappointing. For my odds of $2.25, I had to chuck in 3 legs. I totally agree with what you're saying. I think that if St Kilda lose this game, it is season over, and I want to jump all over that bet, but I will not. I will go through my bet with the research there because I am confident with what I've got in there. I love what you said about Gresham coming back into that side. I think that's really pivotal. The other thing that you spoke about, Pez, is at under the lights of Etihad, of Marvel, of the Telstra Dome, whatever you want to call it, is where the Saints really, really relish and where they've actually missed the last couple of years. And I think that the odds for this game were really surprising, Pez. I thought that the Saints would have been more of a clear-cut favourite, and $1.61 sort of leaves the game in the balance and makes it think that it's going to be a 10, 15-point game. I think the Saints actually blow this open, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints kick the first 10 goals and Max has, 7 or 8 of those anyway, Pez. So I think it's really good for your boys, and it's really good for that bet, and I'm definitely going to sign up secretly, not secretly, I'm publicly saying it after the show. But let's get into my bet, Pez. I agree with what you're saying. I think the Saints control this game, and as I said, first 10 goals, that's easy for them. I've got the Saints to be leading at halftime. I've got the Saints to win the game, and Jade Gresham to get 15 or more disposal. I've gone with Tab, 1 leg fails, money back in a bonus bet at odds of 225, and I put my 25 on it, Pez, but would much prefer to have 25 on Mr. King to kick a goal. So disappointing for the show that they don't have 2 green ticks there, Pez, with the same bets, but I'll just have to take a little bit of that extra odds on my bet slip.
That's all right. I'll take even money for Maxi to kick one of the first 10, and he might kick 0 goals 6 or something and disappoint, but we'll see what happens. But St Kilda on the Friday night, we mentioned it earlier, Geelong and Essendon on the Saturdays.
Yeah, this game is a 2:10 game, Pez. The untraditional 2:10 Saturday game. Normally that game's about 2:40, but they've decided to get it in there because we just can't wait to see the country clash, or whatever they call it, Pez, where they're playing it in the city. The country clash is, makes sense to be playing it in the city. Geelong versus Essendon. It is Geelong's home game, of course, at the MCG, where they love to play their footy. $1.47 are the favoured Cats. The Essendon Bombers are $2.70 outsiders. The line for this game favours towards the Cats, and the line, Pez, is -7.5. The total game points over under, much the same as that Friday night clash, 159.5, $1.88 a piece. Pez, can the Bombers live up to the hype? Opening game against Cats, the ageing Cats, can they get it done?
Jeez, you don't want to be personal, but I really, really hope not, because I've got Essendon for outside the 8. I think they're going to struggle this year with consistency. Getting a couple of players on the park and just being consistent with their ball movement, being able to move it up forward. They had Harry Jones, who was looking really, really good, and now he's done his ankle, expected to return mid-season, so that just adds to it. Michael Hurley, who has been a great defender since he's gone back down in defence in the last few years, he's out indefinitely. Tip and Woody, who gives them a spark up forward when they don't have anything, he's out indefinitely. Jake Stringer with a groin injury, test for round 1. You just don't know what kind of side they're going to be pulling up here, Sauce, and I don't think they can go with the experience of Geelong. We know that they're the oldest side in the comp. They don't have that many injuries. They've got Gary Rowan, who probably won't play. Sam Menegola, he's probably going to come back in the early rounds as well. A few others, but they have got a ruckman. So if Segler gets added into that to go up against Essendon, I just love it for the Geelong midfield. You got Cameron and Hawkins, dynamic duo up forward. With those two, the Twin Towers, I think that they just work so well together after playing another season together. I think them being able to get into the right spots, know when to play the decoy role and to go up the ground, I think they'll both kick 3+ goals each. And my little bet that I've gone, Sauce, I need you to hit that cheeky button.
Cheeky!
Because I've gone a little 5-leg same game multi with Sportsbet. We've got Geelong taking on Essendon. I've got the Geelong at the line, -9.5. I like the line that low because I think they'll win by, 3 goals plus at least. Jeremy Cameron, as I said, to score 3 or more goals at the MCG. He loves getting a goal, and I think Hawkins might play up the ground a little bit more, and Jeremy Cameron will get those over the top ones or running in towards goal. He kick 3 or more. Geelong halftime line -4.5, so they have to lead by 5 or more at halftime. Quarter time line Geelong -2.5. They have to lead by 3 or more at quarter time. And my man, Cam Guthrie, 25 plus disposals. Put him in there to get that up to $5.75. Whack the cheeky 10 on it, and thank me for that $57 fee profit.
Nice, Pez. As avid listeners of the show will know, our cheeky bets need to be over the odds of $5, and you've definitely checked that off, Pez. Love what you said about a range of things there. I think, the Essendon's midfield, whilst it's going to be, extremely strong, it is going to be in doubt with Jake Stringer, and we know how effective he has been. Even if he does play, I don't know if he'll be at full fitness, and he'll probably sort of sit forward a little bit, which will be good because, the exclusion of Harry Jones, who's done his hamstring out for round 1, and probably the next month is a huge doubt for their key position players. And what's good news for Geelong, as you said, there's a little bit of injury sort of concern about who's going to actually get up. But even if half of these names get up, Pez, Geelong will look at full strength as compared to Essendon's depleted list. Mitch Duncan, Tom Stewart, Gary Rowan, Sam Menegola, Jack Henry, Brian Myers, and Segler. They are all 50-50 shots to get up for this Saturday game. That gives them a couple of more days there. If you get half of those back, boom, they've got the numbers on the park. I love what you said about the key position players. We know that I'm a big fan of Tomahawk, and I actually think he's playing his best football when he is up the ground. He's a lovely kick into the forward line. He sets up perfectly with Cameron. They're going to be a perfect 1-2 punch, and hopefully Cameron is back to some full fitness after missing early rounds last year and finding his best form coming into the finals. Hopefully he picks that up straight away with a big preseason. And I'm talking about the Cats, Pez, because I'm actually steering clear of this game. I'm a little bit nervous for this one, as much as I do think analytically you can go with the Cats, and I think all the signs point to Cats. The odds, it is round 1, and we know some weird things happen in round 1. Geelong dropped their opening game last year to the Crows, and we know how both of those seasons unfolded, so I'm steering clear for this one, Pez.
Yeah, fair enough as well. You just need to look forward to watching the game and actually try not to lose to Essendon, because it'd be quite embarrassing knowing a lot of Essendon supporters as well.
Yeah, it definitely is, Pez. They're not always the most gracious team to lose against, and even more, just on a separate note, Pez, my sister, who I go every year, every match to Geelong with, my sister and my mum, she's decided to have her child's first birthday on the Saturday, starting at 11 o'clock. I reckon cake time's going to be about 2. That's terrible. Terrible for my sister. She should have done a 9 o'clock party, get them out by 1, could have gone straight to the footy. What a way to celebrate the first birthday, taking them to the footy. So a bit disappointing on KML.
Cake time at 2 p.m. Happy birthday. Put the TV in, 2:10. Perfect.
Yeah, I could definitely see me being around at the next family Christmas if I put the TV on for the Geelong football versus Essendon out in the western suburbs, Pez. At my nephew's first birthday, I can't imagine there would be very many presents for me at Christmas time coming from my sister and in-law. So let's get into
just buy him a live DVD.
Of what year? Which premiership year? Do you want the live DVD of?
No, if it's a live DVD, just get him a disc and say to his mother, just say, you got to put this on at 2:10.
Well done.
Channel 504, Fox Footy. That's his birthday present, and then he needs to watch it live.
Maybe that's what I might do. Maybe I might actually just buy him like a Geelong, round 1 and do it on the CD. I love that idea, Pez. I'm definitely going to be doing that tomorrow and see if I can sneak in the football. That's how much we love football, Pez. We're giving up first birthdays to try and watch our beloved teams play. But anyway, let's get on to 2 other beloved teams of some of our fans. We talk about the Sydney Derby, the Battle of the Bridge. The big controversy because Sydney reckon that they already have the bridge. We, of course, go to Acora Stadium, Australia. I think they've renamed that, Pez, but we are talking about that giant stadium in the great western suburbs of Sydney. Great Western Sydney, the $2.05 outsiders. Sydney, after a great year last year, or both great years for both teams, $1.80. The line for this game, Pez, -2.5 in favour of the Swans, and the total game points over under 153.5.
Mate, the biggest thing about this, have you seen the scoreboard?
Which scoreboard for the new stadium?
For this stadium.
No, I haven't. Tell me about it.
It's like something like 120 meters long or something.
120 meters long.
It is absolutely ridiculous. While I speak about this game, look it up, find a photo, because it's going to blow your mind when you see this. It's sitting behind the goals, and it goes the full length of the back of the thing. So I think I might have been over exaggerating.
Yeah, it's bigger than the 250s combined. Yeah, I think so. I think you have gone a little bit exaggerating there, Pez. Get on to how the game's going to unfold.
It's massive. Absolutely massive. Now, this is a game where I absolutely love the Sydney Swans. I just think that they are going to easily be the better side. We've got Tom Papley, who's probably going to miss with the hamstring, which isn't ideal. But you've got Toby Green on the other side, who's not going to play for the Giants. We know that they struggle usually in the early rounds. They're trying to find their feet. They've really got to try and fire this year, and they usually can against Sydney. But Sydney are on the up. Sydney are ready to go. They're fit. They're healthy. I'm all over Sydney at the price that they opened up with, around the $1.80 mark. Source. They went down to $1.74 and then have come out a little bit again. But I've gone a 3-leg same game multi with Tab, because they've got the specials on the Saturday and the Sunday with the money back special. I've gone Sydney head to head, Sydney to win the first half, and Sydney at the line -2.5. So just a couple of legs if to win, but they don't cover the line, then I can still get my bonus back. So that gets me odds at $2.20, $25. Happy days for me.
Happy days for you, Pez. I'm totally in agreement with you, Pez. I love the value in the Swans. I don't understand. I mean, obviously, it's a 50-50 game in terms of where they finished last year, but if you look at the year Sydney had, and if you believe that they're going to bounce back and have a better year than they did last year, those young leads, that great list, I think you've got to be all over Sydney. And Pez, I've just seen the actual scoreboard. Holy shit, that is huge, and you were not wrong. 120-meter scoreboard. I thought that was a Reddit. You've just sent me the link there. I thought it was a Reddit joke there. I looked into research. That thing is huge, and maybe that's the only thing that's keeping the Swans out of this game is the big distraction of seeing them up on the big screen. But it's probably good that Papley is not playing, because he doesn't mind a little bit of fig jam and a little bit of me time with the celebration. He'd be watching his highlights on that big screen, but no need for that, because the Swans are not going to need him this week. I've gone with a 3-leg same-game multi-pairs, and it's interesting what you said, because I went with Sportsbet, because they did have better odds on the Swans. I think $1.80 is where I got them at. Other agencies had them about $1.73, $1.78. So I've gone with Sportsbet, 3-leg same-game multi. Sydney to win the game. Sydney to lead at the first quarter. I've gone the quarter-time line minus 0.5, so they just have to be up at the first quarter. And I've gone Justin McInerney to get in 20 disposals. I think with the absence of Jordan Dawson, he will get in there and get 20 or more disposals. That was the $2.80s. 2 bets at $1.80, the Swans and Justin McInerney to get 20 or more disposals. That gives me odds of $3.50, and I've staked 25 on that one, Pez.
Yeah, very interesting source. You go on a few of the player markets and the disposals and things. I'll put a disposal market in my cheeky, but I've kind of stayed away from disposals during this round because I don't really know what's happening. But you've got some thinking behind that, so kudos to you. We then head to our predictor leader in the Brisbane Lions taking on Port Adelaide.
That is correct, Pez. We head to the fortress that has been the Gabba of the last couple of years, the 8:10 Queensland time slot. So for Melbourne viewers, that's at 7:10, but it's going to be prime time Saturday night. And what I love about this, Pez, there's only one game on the Saturday night. The 5:10 start for the GWS Derby means that's going to straight into the nighttime game in the Gabba, and the AFL doesn't mean we have to switch between channels. So fantastic job in them getting that under control and allowing AFL fans to really enjoy the return of football and able to watch every single game live, if you've got Foxtel, obviously, but every game live and without switching channels. Let's get into it. Brisbane Favorites $1.49 and Port Adelaide Outsiders at $2.63. The line for the Lions is minus 13.5 in favour of them, and the total game points over/under 168.5 pairs. I actually think that's quite a bit of a bargain. If I was looking for a punt in this game, I'd be all over the over, because we know that both of these teams are fast-playing teams. Brisbane have an arsenal of goal kickers there if they can get everything together. So I like that bet, but I'm steering clear of this one, Pez, so I'm going to let you talk about it, because I'm sure you've got a bet on your favourite teams, your daughter's team, the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, you can piss off with Rayner, but wishing him a good return, and hopefully gets named in the side this week and plays really well coming back off that ACL. Speaking of that, you got Kane Farrell, who won't be there, the big booming left boot for Port Adelaide. Fantasia as well, always in the thing with to be announced with his knee as well. He's always seems to be injured.
Yeah, that's right, Pez. He's always seemed to be injured. But what gives some more woes for Port Adelaide's forward line is you've got Charlie Dixon, highly unlikely to return as well. He's still recovering from that ankle surgery, but I guess the forward line could be bolstered by Finlayson if they play him down there. We know with the Giants, he sort of fluctuated between the back, the forward. They couldn't work out whether he was Arthur or Martha. So really interesting for Port Adelaide, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep up with the Lions. You know, that's a lot of scoring power that's out in terms of Fantasia, as you said, who's always injured, and Charlie Dixon.
Yeah, and you look at Brisbane at the other end. You've got Eric Hipwood, who's probably the only one that's really has a serious injury at Brisbane. So they're looking very healthy. They're playing at home in front of their crowd. They're going to be hungry. They haven't performed in finals over the last few years when they've been up in the top four source, as we know, winning very minimal finals. They need to fire. Their midfield's there. They've got the forward line ready to go. I know Charlie Cameron's going to get a motorbike out at some stage on Saturday night. It's going to be absolutely fantastic to watch. Port Adelaide having to travel up to the Gabba in the humid weather. It's just not good. Not looking good for Port Adelaide. I'm all over the Brisbane Lions here, and there's a trend with my bets. I've got a 3-leg same game multi. It is with Tab with the bonus back. I've got Brisbane head to head, Brisbane -2.5 first quarter line, and Brisbane to win the first quarter. So if they win the first quarter, so say by 3, but end up losing the match, I will get a bonus bet back because 2 of my legs will get up. So you'll notice a trend with that, with both of our bets throughout the season where we try and take advantage of that third leg as best we can. So they're my 3. It gets me $2.25 odds. I'll put 25 on it, and I'm looking forward to this one. I'm quite confident that Brisbane can beat Port Adelaide.
Yeah, I totally agree, Pez. I think with both of us having them as finishing top in the ladder predictions, I think with the list that they're going to put on the field compared to Port Adelaide, Port Adelaide we're going to need to bounce back, but I don't think this is the right setup for them to be able to do it. The humidity, I just got back from the Gold Coast and Queensland. The humidity is going to be an absolute killer for those Port Power boys, and Brisbane, they're up and about. Hopefully they get Rayner back as well to boost that already sort of potent sort of midfield. I've just gone the basic $50 line bet, Pez. Brisbane -13.5. I love that line. I think they'll get that pretty much done and dusted by 3/4 time. So Brisbane -13.5 at $1.90. That'll be a nice little way to enjoy my Saturday night, Pez, after watching the Geelong replay.
Oh, you're gonna have to watch the replay if you don't get your act together. So there's the first few days of footy. We've got one day left, which is a Sunday, which historically is not my favourite betting day to bet on these games early in the week. Source, where do we head off to?
Yeah, we head off. It's definitely the graveyard shift. They've got whilst the AFL has rewarded us with the opening couple of games and the opening couple of days. What that does mean, it doesn't leave much to the desire in terms of the teams down the bottom. Of our ladder predictor pairs, we've got 5 of the teams playing that we've picked in the bottom 5. So all 5 teams from our ladder predictions are down the bottom there. We've got the first game of the Sunday, the traditional. I don't know what the way to put it is, but generally it's that Sunday time slot that isn't a great one. The 1:10 MCG, we've got a Hawthorn Hawks taking on North Melbourne, $1.67 Pez, favourite of the Hawks, which is a little unusual because I had them for the spoon, and you had North as the spoon, and North is the outsiders at $2.21 Pez. The line for this game, Pez, is -6.5 in favour of the Hawks, and the over-under total game points is 160.5 Pez. Fingers crossed that you've got North doing something a little bit better than what you had them in their preseason show, Pez, because our North fans, the feedback was all over. They loved hearing you talk positive about North, so I'll leave it over to your second team, North Melbourne Kangaroos.
Yeah, well, interesting. We've got both the wooden spooners here from our ladder predictions. I wouldn't want to bet on this game, so I am steering clear. Spoiler alert, but I just don't know who's going to win and what teams they're actually going to put on the park source. We know North have their new recruits that are possibly quite good, and Hawthorn, depending on what team they actually put out there, will depend on how they go. So I hate the line at 6.5 for either side. I wouldn't touch that at all. The over-under points, you don't know if the defense is going to be lacking and they're just going to be out there scoring. You got Sam Mitchell as a new coach for Hawthorn as well. there's just too much happening in this game, and I don't see how anyone could get a bet on it this early in the week without it being a cheeky.
Yeah, Pez, I totally agree in this one. I asked my old man, who's a lifelong North Melbourne supporter, and I said to him, how do you think you're going to go on the weekend? He's like, who actually knows? And that's a great way to summarise it, because there's nothing you can tell from this game about how it's going to play out. North Melbourne had some positive signs during the preseason. They still did get flogged by Sydney, but their number one recruit and their the number one pick from Adelaide, Jason Horne-Francis, he looked good. He most definitely will be locked in for his debut. They might get Ben McKay, who should return from that concussion issues. But the main story for this one for Hawthorn is they get back that sort of gun midfielder that they had. They're that star trio, Jago Amiro, who's coming back from a knee, Chad Wingan is returning from an ankle, and Tom Mitchell, the absolute ball magnet, non-impact player, he'll probably get his 50 touches and still not make an impact on the game. But I think that actually sort of makes you lean towards Hawthorn just on the star power there. But new coach in Hawthorn, how are they going to play? I think there's too many unknowns for this game to put a bet on it. I'm definitely steering clear. And, as you said, how could you make a bet for this game on a Wednesday night, 5 days away before, with all those extra factors in place and potentially the two wooden spoons competitors, the battle? We could know the spoon in round one, Pez, which is going to be great for AFL.
Yeah, it'll be a great watch on a Sunday, early Sunday afternoon there, just to see who's the worst of the worst in the AFL.
Yes, all right, let's speak on to, which should be quite a decent sort of game at Adelaide Oval. We've got the Adelaide Crows taking on the Freo Dockers. The odds for this one have favoured towards the Dockers at $1.71, the away team. Adelaide are the favourite, the outsiders at $2.14. The line is -5.5 in favour of the Dockers, and the over-under for this one is 158.5. Pez, when I saw the odds for this one, I was a little bit surprised because a lot of people have picked Fremantle to sort of, tussle for that 8th spot, and most people have Adelaide still on that rebuild. Do you think the shock of last year's opening one game in Adelaide has sort of made punters a little bit wary of the Crows and the Dockers?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, Source, but I do kind of like the juicy $1.71 you can get at the moment for Fremantle. The only thing I am a bit nervous, it is played in Adelaide, but they're missing Taylor Walker, who had an absolutely amazing start to the year last year. And we spoke about it. They're missing Sloan, who's their barometer, if you would say, their star player, their grunt midfielder. So Fremantle, we know they're missing Taberner, but they should get a couple of other players back. Fife up and running. It is in Adelaide, which is going to make me steer clear. But it's only because I've run out of money in this round and I want to follow the rules for at least one round of the season, Source. So if it wasn't on the Sunday and it was a bit earlier in the week, I'd probably have a Fremantle head-to-head, or if there was a same-game multi-special, try and put something together to get that. So if I had to pick a bet, I'd go Fremantle head-to-head here. But yeah, I'm steering clear at the moment on this one.
Yeah, I'm steering clear as well, Pez. But as you said, I actually don't mind the Fremantle odds, the juice in $1.71. And if Jordan Dawson doesn't make any more progress with that calf injury and doesn't get up, look to that to shrink in a little bit, probably around your $1.60, $1.65. So if you like those odds and you believe they can get the job done with the potential of Dawson playing, then jump all over the Dockers. But I tend to agree, Pez. I think that Adelaide showed some fight last year, but their forward line is going to be a big issue. I don't know where their goals are going to come from. And they're without Sloan, who was easily one of their best, top 5 last year when he was playing. I think Fremantle, with the inclusion of Jordan Clark, hopefully he can get a game for them. I think that they possibly look pretty good. And I think that they're definitely going to be fighting for a spot in the 8. And I think they get the job done against the Crows.
Mate, if Chris Scott's got anything to say about it, Jordan Clark will be on the emergency list every single week.
I mean, he must have been doing something, Pez. A premiership in your first year means you know a little bit about football, apparently. It definitely saves your job for the next 10.
I guess you too. We could end the round here with only 8 games, Source, because West Coast versus Gold Coast coming up next. I have no bloody idea.
Yeah, I have no bloody idea either in this one, Pez. But let's get through the formalities first. This game has absolutely swung since the start of the season. I always look at the straight after the grand final, and as soon as the season fixture is released, they put up the odds. West Coast were favoured in this game at like $1.40 when it first released. Now with all the injury news, they've actually dropped out to the outsiders. So we're talking about West Coast taking on the Gold Coast Suns at our favourite venue, Pez, SBS Stadium. So 210 are the outsiders in West Coast, $1.75, a rarity. Round 1 favourites, the Graveyard, the Gold Coast Suns. The line for this game is -3.5, and the total game points over under 157.5. Pez, do the Gold Coast have the same sort of start as they had last year? The absolute flying form from Matt Rao that had them winning the first 3 games?
Look, as I said in the little opener there, I've no bloody idea what's going on here. Gold Coast going into favourites, $1.75. We know COVID's gone through West Coast as well, with Lee Ryan having to be in isolation, and Tim Kelly either catching COVID or in an isolation as well. So we know Darling's story, who got jabbed, but now he's injured his foot. You've got all the other midfielders out. You got Shuey out. You got Yo out. There's so many things happening in this game. You got Ben King, who's not playing, who's been their leading goal kicker at the Gold Coast Suns. Gold Coast Suns usually play okay over there for a half, and then they tire, especially with the 20 minutes and time on quarters now with the young Suns. They haven't done too much recruiting. You know, you got Marvia Chol, who'll come in and give him a chop out up forward and maybe in the ruck. And I just don't know what teams they're going to put out on the park source. So I actually wouldn't even be able to give you a tip at the moment, unless I was forced to. So I'm steering clear of this one, and the 3 steer clears on the Sunday. Surprising for me.
Yeah, really surprising you, Pez. You mentioned Ben King signing on for them, and I think that's going to play a huge part. And one of the sort of reasons, you know, that I like the Suns, I think that every AFL fan really wants one of the AFL's Suns, the Gold Coast Suns, the AFL's favourite team, and where they're putting all their money. You want them to do well, and I think that with the big news of them having King out for the season, him signing on during the week was a real encouraging thing. And I think they're going to go out and prove that in Pez. And you know what? As you said, who knows what's going to happen? So with my cheeky prediction, I'm going a cheeky bet.
Cheeky!
So I've gone with the Suns, Pez. I think the Suns can do this. They've done it they did it a couple of years ago in torrential rain that they got it done. I think Gold Coast are going to be stronger just on depth than people available. We looked at the lists during our preseason show, Pairs. I had West Coast finishing bottom 4. I think you had them pretty close to bottom 4 as well. I think that's going to be season-ending just emotionally. We know that they don't like when there's emotion involved, and they definitely don't get behind each other. Tim Kelly's a huge out for them because he was basically all they really had, and hopefully he gets up for the game, but it's a COVID protocol. Even if he does get up, he's probably going to be fatigued for that game. So I've gone with a 3-leg same-game multi-pairs, and I've gone odds of $5.50, so kept it just cheeky enough for you. And I've gone the first quarter line, -5.5 for the Suns. I've gone over total game points, 155.5. And I've gone Gold Coast, pick your own line, -10.5. I think they get it done by quite a nasty sort of number. As I said, West Coast not being able to cope with any sort of emotion, and the moment they get down, the Gold Coast Suns will be celebrating. Those young guns with those mullets know how to celebrate, Pez. They'll be all over it. I've gone the cheeky 10 on that, but as you said, who really knows? And I had no cheeky to go, so I'm talking myself into this one because, as you said, who bloody knows what's going to happen?
Oh, as I said with the Hawthorn North Melbourne game, the only way I'd put my money down is if it was a little bit cheeky. So there you go in the final game of the round. We've got our multi to go source, so I'll go through my multi. Of course, I've used a sports bet. 4+ legs. If 2 fail, you get a bonus bet back up to $50. So taking advantage of that. We've got 4 legs. These are my 4 favourite games head-to-head to win. I've gone Melbourne tomorrow night to win. We've got St Kilda on the Friday night to beat Collingwood. We've got Sydney to beat GWS, and then to finish it off on the Saturday night with Brisbane beating Port Adelaide. $25 on it at $6.82 odds.
Oh, I like that, Pez, because 2 of those I've got as well, and the other 2 I have got a little bit different. I've gone with Sportsbet, the 4-leg same-game multi. It's not same-game multi, though. We say it so much in the show, it's just muscle memory. We've got our 4-leg multi, Pez, with Sportsbet, 4 teams, 1 leg fails, money back as well. I've got odds of $7.05, 25 on the Saints to get it done, the Cats, the Swans, and the Lions. 2 games that I'm really certain with is the Saints and the Lions. I think, as I spoke about during the show, the Swans are great money at $1.80, and the Cats just for a little bit of sentimental value. You know, I couldn't go a show without putting some money down on the Cats there, Pez.
Oh, I thought we escaped it, to be honest, and you've left it for the multi. A little bit cheeky in itself there. So our bet slip will be out on Twitter at Behind the Bound Source, so you can actually follow along with it there. If we put any live bets out, because I don't have any bets on the Sunday, so if I see something I like, we'll tweet it out on Twitter as well at Behind the Bound, so you'll be able to see first when these bets come through. You'll be able to keep to date with everything there at Behind the Bound on Twitter Source. Make sure you're following.
Yeah, make sure you get on there, drop us a comment, drop a 5-star review on all your favourite podcast distributors, and leave maybe a comment as well and tell us how well we're doing and how much you enjoy listening to Pez and Sauce have some extra long banter for a Tuesday night, Pez, an unusual long one because it is Tuesday, but the excitement of round one, we just had to keep talking about it.
Oh, you don't want to stop talking about it. Round one, one more sleep to go. Grand final rematch, which we don't agree that it should be the first match of the round, but boy, are we excited to watch it tomorrow. So I've got to get some of that sleep and some of that rest. I don't know how I'm going to get down after this show tonight, but I'm Pez. Good luck with your bets this week. Peace out.
I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time. And as always, if you're having a punt, bet responsibly.